먹어도 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Coming up on Arirang News, South Korean President Yoon kicks off his state visits to 3 Central Asian countries under his proposal for a K-Silk Road initiative, seeking to bolster energy and resource cooperation. His first stop, Turkmenistan. The two Koreas resumed their loudspeaker broadcasts following another round of Pyongyang sending balloons filled with trash. Amid growing tensions, South Korea and the United States agreed to strengthen and continuously cooperate on their allied nuclear response for extended deterrence against the North. From ancient performances and rituals to plays, Gangneung City in South Korea's Gangwon State keeps the customs alive for Danol, one of the major traditional celebrations in Korea. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with President Yoon now in Turkmenistan, starting his 3-country state visit tour of Central Asia. He's currently in the middle of his first summit with the president of Turkmenistan, Serdar Berdimuhamedov. For more, we have our presidential office correspondent Kim Do-yeon on the line with us. Do-yeon, what's happening at the moment?
Jiyoung, as you said a couple of hours ago, President Yoon and First Lady Kim Gun-hee landed in Turkmenistan, and straight away the official welcoming ceremony for their state visit was held. Currently, the two leaders are holding a summit discussing cooperation. Now, according to the top office, the two are expected to be talking about expanding cooperation in the energy and plant sectors. In addition, there will be discussions on ways to broaden the scope of cooperation to more diverse fields such as shipbuilding, healthcare, and education. The two are expected to make a joint press conference following the summit, and more details will be available from the two leaders' discussions then. In the meantime, the local media welcomed President Yoon as well. The Turkmenistan and Russian language neutral Turkmenistan newspapers reported on Monday South Korea is a country with a long-standing history with Turkmenistan and a partner in areas including capital, infrastructure, and technology. The reports also said South Korea is actively playing a role in contributing to the peace and prosperity of the international community under the banner of Global Pivotal State.
Right, and now this is just the beginning of his 3-state visits. Tell us, Do-yeon, what to expect from now for the next few days.
Jiyoung, you're right. Turkmenistan is the first of 3 countries. There he's set to pay his respect at the Independence Monument and attend a state dinner hosted by his counterpart. Before leaving on Tuesday, he will be participating in a business forum between the two countries. He will also sit down with Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, the chairman of the People's Council of Turkmenistan, who's also the father of the Turkmenistan president. Then the next stop will be Kazakhstan. He'll stay the longest there for 3 days. There he's set to have the usual state visit engagements and also have a business forum and cultural events with his counterpart. Last stop will be Uzbekistan, which is only one of 4 countries that South Korea has a special strategic partnerships with. There, on top of the usual state visit engagements, he's set to meet with young entrepreneurs who are part of a program funded by South Korea and visit Samarkand before leaving. That's all for now. Back to you, Jiyoung.
Thank you, Do-yeon, for your reporting. Now, shifting gears, loudspeaker broadcasts on the border of the two Koreas have resumed for the first time in around 6 years in response to the North's fresh round of trash balloon campaign this past weekend. Pyongyang appears to be planning a tit-for-tat move as well. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung has the latest.
Tensions are reaching new heights on the Korean peninsula. South Korea's military on Monday detected signs of North Korea installing loudspeakers near the inter-Korean border. The move comes after the South Korean military reactivated its loudspeaker campaigns on Sunday for the first time in 6 years against North Korea's continued trash-carrying balloon deliveries. The South Korean military reportedly aired anti-Pyongyang messages for around 2 hours on Sunday afternoon and played K-pop songs such as Dynamite and Butter by BTS. In a press briefing, the military said preparations are in place for such broadcasts whenever necessary, but added that it has no plans to broadcast on Monday.
Our military is conducting operations flexibly in line with the strategic and operational condition.
Bruce Bennett, adjunct defense researcher at the nonprofit global policy think tank RAND Corporation, says that Kim Jong-un would not want elite families in the capital hearing the broadcasts.
And it's important to remember that many of the soldiers in the forward area are from the elite Songbun. They're people who are from the elites out of Pyongyang, children of elites. So reaching them is something which the North is really not going to like, as they demonstrated in 2015. In 2015, they were willing to come to the negotiating table over it. Now they seem to want to simply escalate.
The North's loudspeaker installations could be seen as a tit-for-tat move, as the sister of North Korea's leader Kim Yo-jong on Sunday threatened that there would be new responses if South Korea continued to engage in loudspeaker provocations and the sending of anti-Pyongyang leaflets. North Korea also sent additional trash-carrying balloons late Sunday after the resumption of the broadcast from the south. Around 310 balloons were detected by the military from Sunday night to Monday morning. The loudspeaker campaigns were officially suspended in 2018 as part of an inter-Korean military agreement to diffuse tensions along the border. The last broadcast aired by South Korea was in 2016 as a response to the North's fourth nuclear test. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Amid escalating tensions on the Korean peninsula, South Korea and the U.S. held nuclear consultation talks here in Seoul. The two countries announced that they have completed reviewing guidelines, which include ways to respond in case of North Korea's nuclear attacks. Bae-eun-ji explains more.
Officials from South Korea and the U.S. met in Seoul on Monday to hold the third meeting of the Nuclear Consultative Group. This is a group that the two countries agreed to establish last year when their leaders met in Washington, aiming to bolster extended deterrence against North Korea's nuclear missile programs. In a press conference following the meeting, the two sides announced that they have finished reviewing joint guidelines on ways to deter threats and how to respond and communicate in case of a possible nuclear attack from North Korea.
Today, the NCG completed its review of the guidelines document, perhaps our most significant progress in the first year of the NCG. The guidelines provide principles for how policy and military authorities will work together to maintain a credible and effective nuclear deterrence policy and posture against the evolving security environment.
Although exact details were not revealed due to security reasons, the U.S. official added that both sides will use the guidelines to deepen cooperation, particularly on combined concepts, exercises, and activities. Seoul's defense ministry also said the two countries will continue to develop these guidelines.
We agreed to continue improving and advancing the joint guidelines that will lay a solid foundation for strengthening cooperation on the unified extended deterrence between South Korea and the U.S.
The two sides also discussed ways to increase the visibility of U.S. strategic assets deployments around the Korean peninsula, as well as ways to conduct conventional and nuclear integration exercises. The first Nuclear Consultative Group meeting was held last July, and the second in December. The two countries announced that the fourth meeting will be held at the end of this year in the U.S. Bae-eun-ji, Arirang News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin plans to visit North Korea and Vietnam as early as this month. If Putin does head to Pyongyang, it would be his first visit to North Korea in 24 years. Our Kim Bo-kyung has more on what could be on the agenda amid geopolitical tensions.
Russian President Vladimir Putin will visit North Korea and Vietnam in the next few weeks. That's according to Russian daily newspaper Vedomosti on Monday. Citing a diplomatic source, the report said that Putin's visit to Vietnam will take place as early as June, most likely immediately after his visit to North Korea. It was quoted the Russian ambassador to North Korea who said that Putin's visit to Pyongyang will happen and is actively being prepared. There have been indicators that Putin will visit North Korea, as there have been many high-level exchanges between the two over the recent months. A Kremlin spokesperson, too, had already said preparations for Putin's possible trip to the north were proceeding at their own pace. This comes after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited Russia last September, touring the Vostochny Space Launch Center and holding talks with Putin. Ever since their summit, ties have been deepening between North Korea and Russia, with suspected arms transfers from Pyongyang to Moscow to be used in the war in Ukraine in exchange for Russia's assistance in advanced military technologies. If Putin does make a reciprocal visit to North Korea as early as June, it will mark his first in 24 years since July 2000, and it would be just around a month after Putin's two-day visit to China, which took place from the 15th to 16th of last month. One expert says Russia's assistance to North Korea for its economic development could be on the agenda.
In terms of political and military-related issues, they could try to boost bilateral ties in the new Cold War scene, and the rest could be about Russia's economic assistance or cooperation with the regime, involving the dispatch of North Korean workers, energy and food, because Pyongyang needs Moscow's help for economic development.
As for Vietnam, Putin agreed to visit Hanoi while talking over the phone with Vietnam Communist Party Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong this March. His last official visit to Vietnam was in November 2013. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Now moving on to the medical dispute here in the country. Doctors are set to stage a strike next Tuesday. The government, in response, is mandating private practitioners to remain available for services on that day. Our Park Gun-woo reports.
South Korea's health ministry said on Monday it has decided to order private practitioners to keep treating patients and report if they will not be on duty based on the medical laws. That's a response to the doctors' decision to conduct a general strike next week. The health ministry also said it would review whether the Korea Medical Association has been violating the Fair Trade Act by encouraging doctors to participate in collective action. Doctors affiliated to the KMA announced on Sunday that they will halt medical services on June 18 and hold a general rally with 140,000 members and medical students that day. That was decided after a vote last week, which was participated in by more than 60% of KMA members. When asked about whether one would participate in the walkout in June, over 70% voted yes, which a KMA official said was an overwhelming result. The Emergency Committee of Professors at Seoul Medical University and Seoul National University Hospital has also decided to stop outpatient services and surgery starting next Monday. Amid doctors announcing these plans for a general walkout, the government gave its stance on Sunday.
These actions are not just a huge burden on the emergency care system, but they also leave a deep scar on our whole society. The government will try to persuade the medical community right to the last minute to prevent a general strike, and will put all efforts into minimizing medical gaps.
The government once again promised that it would not punish junior doctors who return to work. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
A ceremony commemorating South Korea's June 10 pro-democracy movement, which took place 37 years ago, was held today at Seoul City Hall. Some 300 people, including government officials, political party leaders, and those with associations to the movement, attended the ceremony. On June 10, 1987, South Korean citizens held pro-democracy protests nationwide, prompted by police violence, as well as the then military regime's announcement that the next president would be chosen by an indirect election. The democratic struggle eventually led to a constitutional amendment that secured the election of a president by a direct vote of the people. In other news, a high-level Cuban diplomat, Carlos Pereira, says that Cuba aims to promptly open a Cuban diplomatic mission in Seoul. Such remarks came as Pereira took part in the 2024 Korea, Latin America, and the Caribbean Future Cooperation Forum in Seoul. He added that the opening of a diplomatic mission could be possible even within 1 month if necessary procedures are taken care of. His visit is the first by a Cuban delegation since the two countries established diplomatic relations in February this year. An Israeli operation to rescue 4 hostages has killed and injured hundreds in Gaza. Yoon has more.
On Saturday, the Israeli military rescued 4 hostages from the Gaza's Al-Nusayrat camp, which, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, killed at least 274 Palestinians, including 57 women and 64 children, while wounding at least another 600. The death toll is the highest reported in a 24-hour period since the outbreak of the war in Gaza. Israel Defense Forces Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the latest operation had been planned for weeks, with the unusual daytime raid intended to create a greater element of surprise despite the greater associated risks. The Israeli military said that a special forces officer was killed during an exchange of fire. According to Hamas, 3 other hostages, including one with U.S. citizenship, were also killed in the raid. Meanwhile, on Sunday, Israeli Minister Benny Gantz announced his resignation from Israel's 3-man emergency war cabinet. Last month, Gantz had set a June 8 deadline to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to come up with a clear post-war strategy, which the Prime Minister had brushed off. And following the rescue operation on Saturday, Gantz delayed his decision by just a day.
Unfortunately, Netanyahu prevents us from progressing to the real victory, which is the justification for the painful and ongoing price. That is why we are leaving the wartime cabinet today, with a heavy heart, but with a whole heart.
While Gantz's departure would not pose an immediate threat to the Israeli government, it may leave Netanyahu more reliant on his far-right coalition, who stand against the latest U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal. This suggests there's no end in sight for the ongoing Gaza war, which has killed over 36,700 Palestinians. Yoon, Arirang News.
Also on the international front, a Ukrainian attack aircraft fired a weapon that struck a target inside Russia for the first time since the war broke out between Kyiv and Moscow following Russia's invasion. According to UK Sky News, the Ukrainian Air Force hit a Russian command node on Sunday in the area of Belgorod, western Russia. A military source said that while damage assessment is still occurring, it is confirmed that as a direct hit, and this is the first use of a Ukrainian Air Force's air-delivered munition against a target within Russia. The news agency says this could be seen as an escalation by Moscow. French President Emmanuel Macron has dissolved his country's parliament and called for early elections after an EU exit poll shared historic support for the French far right. Lee Seung-jae explains.
The preliminary results of the European Parliament elections showed the centrists holding ground despite far-right parties taking key victories. With a total of 720 seats in the parliament, the center-right European People's Party won 186 seats, 10 more than the previous term. However, on the far right, the Identity and Democracy Party, the political home of France's National Rally and Italy's Lega Party, gained 11 seats compared to the previous term, thanks to National Rally's lead candidate Jordan Bardella garnering 31.5% of the vote, roughly twice that of French President Emmanuel Macron's Renaissance Party. The crushing defeat for Macron's party led to the French president dissolving parliament and a call for a fresh election. Sunday's decision was met with disbelief by Macron's supporters, while supporters of the National Rally Party celebrated the announcement. The first round of the French parliamentary election takes place on June 30th, with the second round set for July 7th. With the 10th European Parliament elections coming to a close, the process of forming a new leadership for the EU bloc for the next 5 years begins. The leaders of 27 EU nations will hold an informal summit in Brussels on June 17th to begin discussions on forming the leadership based on the election results. The candidate for the European Commission will be confirmed at the end of the month. With the European People's Party winning a majority in the election, its leading candidate and current European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen may continue in the role. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, today is what's referred to as Tano, one of the major traditional celebrations in South Korea. In the city of Gangneung, the celebration takes place on a big scale, keeping alive many ancient traditions from sacred rites to sports. Our Yoon brings us the significance of the festival and what fun is there to enjoy.
Tano is the day when villagers in Korea would gather to seek blessings for a fruitful harvest. Although this custom has faded in modern society, it's kept alive thanks to the Gangneung Danoje Festival. It's held annually in the city of Gangneung in Gangwon State, and in 2005, the festival was designated by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Also called Surin날, Tano falls on the 5th day of the 5th month of the lunar Korean calendar. In 2024, under the theme Seoul Tano, the festival runs from June 6th to June 13th for 8 days, offering a wide range of traditional events including performances, rituals, and plays.
These combined traditions transform the festival into a lively celebration where local residents come together for a joyful feast and festivities.
One of the festival's most renowned traditions is the Gov't, or shamanic rituals.
It's interesting to see different performances every hour that align with its designated theme.
Around 20 rituals are performed, including ones honoring the guardian deities of Gangneung. Each prayer offers a distinct purpose, ranging from blessings for a bountiful harvest to ensuring the health of loved ones. Alongside the diverse programs, there is also the largest market in the country. The Korean term nanjang, meaning place of chaos, is used to describe the marketplace, where not only food and goods are sold, but folk costumes can be enjoyed, such as traditional performances or plays like the swings. Another tradition enjoyed at the festival is shirum, or traditional Korean wrestling, which is a significant part of Korean culture. The Gangneung Danoje Festival this year is full of experiential events for visitors to enjoy. With 64 events to explore, the festival offers a chance to experience the essence of Korean traditional culture. Yoon, Arirang News, Gangneung.
The summer heat continues throughout the day today. The first heat wave warning was issued this summer in the Gyeongsangdo provinces and surrounding areas, including Daegu. Summer heat of around 33 degrees Celsius was seen during the daytime. The weather is forecast to be hotter tomorrow than today. Seoul will soar up to 31 degrees, and summer heat as hot as the beginning of August will continue. Daegu will rise to 34 degrees with a heat wave warning. For the rest of the week, the weather will be similar to or hotter than today. Please take care of yourself. Tomorrow morning, temperatures will be around 20 degrees nationwide. It will be topping out at 34 degrees in Daegu, Gyeongju 35 degrees. As the temperature gradually rises, the daytime temperature in Seoul will rise to 32 degrees later this week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with the latest news at 9 a.m. tomorrow with New Day at Arirang. Hope everyone has a great start to the week.
Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries. Our change will leave